A retired general just delivered the most devastating warning about Trump's America. Kelly didn't just criticize, he exposed a systematic campaign to silence anyone who dares speak truth. From targeting senators to threatening companies, this isn't politics as usual, it's the blueprint for authoritarian control. And Kelly just called it what it is, a direct assault on democracy itself.
Uses his power to intimidate people. And with the consent of Republicans in the United States Senate, he has surrounded himself with people like the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who will do whatever he says with no question, no matter what. Trump and Hegseth, they care more about publicity than they do about the rule of law. That's how I ended up finding out via a tweet that the Secretary of Defense was ordering an investigation into me. The same Secretary of Defense who has, from the moment he was nominated, has been historically unqualified for this position. The same Secretary of Defense who is reported to have ordered a second strike to kill shipwreck survivors in the Caribbean. If there is anyone who needs to answer questions in public and under oath, it is Pete Hegseth. It's a dangerous moment for the United States of America when the president and his loyalists use every lever of power to silence United States senators for speaking up. But we all know that this isn't about me, and it's not about the others in that video. They're trying to send a message to retired service members, to government employees, to members of the military, to elected officials, and to all Americans who are thinking about speaking up. You better keep your mouth shut or else. This has been a singular focus of President Trump's second term. Not addressing costs, not creating jobs, intimidating people, and going after the people he views as his political opponents. He's done it to companies. You better write a check to build my ballroom, or I might not approve your merger. He's done it with universities. You better fire your president, or I'll pull your research funding. He's even done it to late night hosts. You better not make jokes that I do not like, or I'll get you taken off the air, and I'm going to take your company's broadcast license. And he does it every week with Republicans in the House and the Senate. You better toe the party line, or I'll make sure you never get reelected. Folks, this comes at a cost. And not only to American companies, colleges, and comedians. It damages every American's freedom of speech and the balance of powers that form the foundation of our democracy. Because when Republicans in Congress are too afraid to disagree with this president, it means that his bad ideas go unchallenged. He has slapped reckless tariffs on countries across the globe, skyrocketing the cost of everything from groceries to school supplies. Republicans historically, well, at least a year ago, they hated tariffs. But when it comes to voting to undo them, they are too afraid of Donald Trump. So Americans pay more for just about everything because of spineless politicians. It's the same with healthcare costs. There are Republicans in the House and the Senate who really want to do something to prevent these healthcare premiums from spiking for millions of Americans. The solutions are simple, but President Trump says he doesn't want to. So nothing happens. Nothing except a government shutdown. It goes on and on. The president has gone too far. Everybody needs to wake up. The occupant of the Oval Office is ignorant to the Constitution and has no regard for the rule of law. Trying to silence me, in proposing to court-martial me, in threatening to kill me for fighting back when our democracy demands that we must fight back. President Trump has crossed the line. And this time, it's not going to work.
General Kelly's speech wasn't just political criticism. It was a field manual for recognizing authoritarianism in action. When a retired four-star general accuses a sitting president of weaponizing government power to silence dissent, we're witnessing something unprecedented in American politics. Kelly systematically outlined how Trump operates through intimidation across every sector of society. The pattern is deliberate: threaten first, then escalate to actual punishment if threats fail. Companies face merger blocks unless they fund Trump properties. Universities lose research funding if they don't fire administrators. Trump dislikes. Even comedians face broadcast license threats for unfavorable jokes. This isn't governing, it's racketeering with presidential powers. The investigation into Kelly himself demonstrates this playbook perfectly. Learning about a Defense Department probe through Twitter isn't bureaucratic incompetence. It's public humiliation designed to deter others. When Kelly mentions Pete Hegseth's reported order for a second strike against shipwreck survivors, he's highlighting how unqualified loyalists enable increasingly dangerous decisions. Kelly's most chilling observation involves Congress itself. Republican senators and representatives, historically independent voices, now vote against their own policy preferences out of fear. They oppose tariffs privately but won't vote to remove them publicly. They want healthcare reform but won't challenge Trump's opposition. This paralysis isn't partisan disagreement, it's institutional capture through fear. What makes this particularly dangerous is how it mirrors authoritarian consolidation in other democracies. When legislatures become rubber stamps rather than independent branches, the entire system of checks and balances erodes. Kelly witnessed this pattern during his military service in regions where democratic institutions gradually surrendered their autonomy to strongman leaders. The process always begins with intimidation of individual members before spreading to institutional submission. The consequences extend far beyond Washington politics. When Congress can't function independently, bad policies persist unchallenged. Tariffs increase costs for families while Republicans who privately oppose them stay silent. Healthcare premiums spike while potential solutions gather dust because Trump disapproves. Government shutdowns become routine because challenging the president feels too risky. Kelly understands that Trump's threats work precisely because people believe he'll follow through. The president's words carry weight not through moral authority but through demonstrated willingness to abuse power. Every company that caves, every university that complies, every Republican who stays silent reinforces the system's effectiveness. This creates a chilling effect that extends beyond direct targets. Career military officers, civil servants, and elected officials all receive the same message: conform or face consequences. When institutions designed to check presidential power become afraid to function, the constitutional balance collapses. Kelly's warning about court-martial threats and death suggestions isn't hyperbole, it's escalation. Authoritarian tactics typically progress from economic pressure to legal intimidation to physical threats. Kelly recognizes this progression and refuses to normalize it as typical political hardball. The retired general's courage in speaking publicly matters because silence enables the system's expansion. Every person who stays quiet, every institution that accommodates, every politician who looks away contributes to authoritarianism's normalization. Kelly's visibility and credibility make his defiance particularly threatening to the intimidation model. Most importantly, Kelly frames this as a constitutional crisis requiring active resistance. Democracy doesn't defend itself. It requires citizens and officials willing to accept personal risk for institutional integrity. His speech isn't just criticism, but a call for others to recognize their moment of choice. Kelly's military background gives his warnings particular credibility. He's observed how democratic institutions collapse in other nations, often through gradual intimidation rather than sudden coups. His assessment that America faces similar risks isn't partisan speculation. It's professional analysis based on decades of studying how societies lose their freedoms. When career military officers sound alarms about domestic threats to constitutional governance, history suggests taking those warnings seriously. The stakes couldn't be clearer. When retired generals warn about authoritarian capture of democratic institutions, the warning itself becomes a test. Will enough people listen and act, or will fear continue silencing necessary opposition? Kelly has chosen his side. The question now is whether others will find similar courage before institutional damage becomes irreversible.